Good morning, everybody. So this is our third test. This was the only multiple choice that we had, climates, biomes, and population retest. What I did is I took the most missed questions, and I am going to only focus on those. So we are not going to see too many biomes and too many population. For whatever reason, on those, we did a little bit better. So let's go ahead and get started. Water near Russia is most likely. So you had a question where you saw this map. This map is going to, let's look at the key. So we see dry desert, mid-latitude Mediterranean, high latitude subarctic tundra. This is all of the different climates. We are really being specific and looking at Russia and Eurasia. So looking at all of this, your question has to do with Russia. So let's focus on Russia. Russia is going to be subarctic. What does subarctic mean? Subarctic means super cold, okay? Over here in the blue, this is the tundra. This is still part of Russia. So when we're talking about tundras, remember that's like a freezing desert. So it doesn't get very much rainfall, and it's going to be super, super duper cold. So this is asking about the water. So let's follow along. You have some water up here in the subarctic, and then you have water in the tundra. So the water that is in the freezing desert, is that water going to be cold or hot? The water that is in the subarctic, is that going to be cold? Oh, sorry, I had to sneeze. Is that going to be cold or hot? I need you to kind of think of your mid-latitudes and your high latitudes. Is this going to be a high latitude area where you're going to see freezing temperatures or not? Okay, so kind of keep that in mind as you're thinking about how the water is going to be. Can't erase fast enough. Okay, let's go ahead and look at our next question. On this one, we have, go back. On this one, we are looking at the different climates. So in your notes, we had talked about how this equator right here, that red line, is going to be like a mirror. As you go further away from the equator, equal distance, you're going to have the same temperatures, the same climates, okay? It's going to be what is closest to the equator, and then as you are going further away, as long as they are equal distance from the equator, then you are going to experience the same kind of climate, okay? Because what really matters is that distance. It doesn't matter if you are in the north or if you are in the south. Let's go back. Okay, so if you are, the closer to the equator you are, that is called the low latitudes. The low latitudes, remember that equator is super hot. That equator is where the earth curves and it is closer to the sun. So I want you to go ahead and answer the question to the side. All right, let's go to the next one. Latin America is located in the blank hemisphere. Okay, so we talked about longitude and latitude. We talked about the equator and how, let's go ahead and label. This is the north hemisphere. This is the south hemisphere. Now we're going to take that one step further, and we are going to label this the east hemisphere, and this is the west hemisphere. Okay, so now with all of this in mind, let's look at the question. Latin America is located in the blank hemisphere. So you have to find which one is the best example. All of this is the southern hemisphere, and all of this is the northern hemisphere. When you're looking at the northern hemisphere, it's the equator that is going to make the difference. Are you above the equator or are you below the equator? If you are looking at west and east hemisphere, that longitude line is going to make the difference. If you are on the west side, then you are the western hemisphere. If you are on the east side, you are the eastern. So now it all looks ratchet because I wrote all over it, but hopefully this helps you answer this question. I wish there was a way to pause this, but I don't know how. So you'll have to bear with me. All right, looking at this one. In this one, we are looking at two areas. No, I'm sorry. That's the question. Let's look at the key. The key, you could, oh, I could move that. The key is showing you what all of these different colorations mean, okay? So when you are looking at it, this really dark area is going to have really, all of this dark area is going to be the desert. Think, is that a place where people want to live? What challenges do they have living in the desert? This one with like the little pattern and there's like polka dots. We see it up here. I think that's Greenland and Antarctica. You need to think, okay, is ice-covered area, is that going to be the best place to farm? And then over here we have mountains. So in the mountains, again, we see them over here with the Himalayas. We have a few here in Chile. I want you to go ahead and think about, of all of these three places, which one is going to be the absolute worst place for you to live? Where would we see, let's look at the question, what two areas would have the lowest population? So remember, guys, people who are going to start their village, they're going to start their village in a place that is going to have their basic needs. Do you remember what those basic needs are? Let's answer that question first. And let's not, I don't trust y'all. I love you. You are going to, your basic needs are air, water, and shelter. Air, water, shelter, and food. Okay, there we go. So water, food, and shelter. So which areas of these do you think is going to be the best place for you to find shelter, water, and food? Remember that your food is going to be super, super closely tied to water, because once you have water, then you're able to water your crops. You're able to water your animals, and if you're a carnivore, you can eat your animals. So kind of keep all of those things in mind as you are looking at this map, and then you're going to decide which area is going to be the best. Read those questions carefully.